Hey there, girlfriend. Would you like to spice up your makeup look? Well, you're in the right place. If you've ever asked yourself, what do I need to know about makeup brushes? We're going to get to the bottom of that in today's video. We'll share some things that no one has ever told you about makeup brushes. We'll see you inside. Hi there, my name is Ingafay, and I'm a confidence coach and beauty enthusiast. And in today's video, I am super excited to share with you about brushes. What kind of brushes do you really need in your regimen? We'll get to the bottom of that today. Secondly, I wanted to share with you a brush must do. This is really going to determine how long you actually keep the brushes that you have in your possession. So we will share that must do with you. And last but definitely not least, I am going to go over a step-by-step tutorial on exactly how to use the brushes that I currently use in my routine that you could potentially use in yours. Let's do this, shall we? So let's talk about what type of brushes do you really need? Do you need a gamut of all brushes? Do you need every brush that there's out there on the market? And my answer to you is no. I really think you need to focus on the things that you actually use in your beauty regimen. Now, I know for me, I don't really wear blush. So I would not invest in a blush brush because I don't wear it. Are you one of those people that don't wear blush either? So just kind of think about that when it comes time to you actually purchasing the brush set that you're getting. Think about the actual products that you use. I'm going to give you a couple of the basics that I think I would highly recommend for someone that's a novice in this game. And it's not a whole lot of brushes. It's probably 6 or 7 brushes that I would highly recommend. First and foremost, most of you are probably wearing some type of foundation, whether it be a powder or liquid or maybe even a cream. I would highly recommend that you get a foundation type of brush that goes with that type of foundation that you're currently wearing. I wear a cream to powder, so I'm using this brush that you see in this picture here. It is a blending brush that allows me to evenly spread the cream to powder onto my face that will help me keep a matte finish throughout the day because of my oily skin. So, foundation brush is definitely a must have. Another brush that I would highly recommend is an all over powder brush for your eyes. And this is a flat brush, as you can see in this picture here. And you would use this brush to apply eyeshadow on your lid or maybe even up under your brow. So that's essentially what you would use this brush for. So it's definitely a brush that I would highly recommend for someone to use if they're using eyeshadow. So make sure that if you have eyeshadow in your skin or really cosmetic regimen that you want to have the all over eye brush. The second brush that I would recommend for the eyes is the crease brush. Now, this is the brush that you would use in the crease. It normally has a slant like you see in this picture here. You would want to use this crease brush to, of course, apply eye color in the crease area. And when you see later in the video, the tutorial, you will see exactly how to use this brush and where you want to use it on your eyes. So the third brush I would highly recommend would be a crease brush. Now, when it comes to eyes, the last and final brush that, well, I won't say the last. This is another brush that I would use for eyeshadow, and that is the blending brush, which is this really fluffy brush that you see in this picture here. And I recommend the blending brush because eyeshadow is all about blending. And if you just put the powder on or the eyeshadow on with just the two brushes that I mentioned, the crease as well as the all over powder brush, it's not going to really give you the look that you want because the eyeshadow is a mirage of colors and you want to be able to blend those colors together to really get that final look that you're looking for. So a blending brush is a must have when it comes to doing powdered eyeshadow or even mixing a cream eyeshadow with a powder. You want to be able to blend it. So those are 4 brushes that I would highly recommend. Now, 2 other brushes that I definitely would recommend in your regimen, just depending on what type of foundation that you're using, or if you're using a concealer, I would highly recommend a concealer brush. And this allows you to really put the concealer directly in the specific spot that you want on your face. So I use a concealer brush on a regular basis because I am working to conceal the darker circles under my eyes and even the darker discoloration around my eyes. because I have sparse brows, I want to make sure that I have a clean line right above my brow. So I make sure that I use the concealer brush to make sure that I have that smooth, clean line above my brows. So I would highly recommend a concealer brush if you have sparse brows, or if you have darker circles or you're trying to conceal some area on the face, to really be able to put that foundation or concealer exactly where you want to put it so you can give it a nice blending. I also would recommend a powder brush, like I had mentioned before with the foundation. It just depends on what type of foundation that you're wearing. If you wear a powder, I would highly recommend an all powder brush that will really allow you to blend the powder all over your face and really set your makeup. And then last but definitely not least, especially if you have sparse brows like me, I would highly recommend that you use an eyebrow brush. An eyebrow brush allows you to brush up the brush hairs like you're seeing me do in this particular video here, that I'm brushing up the brow hairs so I can then fill them in with a brow pencil. So it really helps you to brush the brow hairs. It also helps you separate your lashes, as well as, because it's a dual end, it also allows you to put eyeliner on too. So if you use any of these brushes that I mentioned in the Mary Kay line, you're going to pretty much have what you need if you do eyeshadow and foundation. And if you actually do blush, then of course you would add a cheek brush to this collection that I just mentioned. But being that I don't, I did not add it here. So before we go on and talk about what the brush must do is, I wanted to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We upload a video every Tuesday for your viewing pleasure, and we don't want you to miss your beat. So be sure to subscribe. So now we're going to go into what is the brush must do to help you really get the most out of your brushes. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you clean your brushes on a regular basis. And what this does is it gives you the opportunity to get the best performance out of your brush. If your brush is dirty, your brush can carry impurities that could also lead to a breakout. But in addition to that, it's not going to really put the pigment from the eyeshadows that you're applying onto your face if the brush is dirty, because it's camouflaged by all of that other eyeshadow that hasn't been washed out. So what I recommend, that you spot clean your brushes every day with a brush cleaner, a spray, and then you actually deep clean your brushes at least once a week if you have combination oily skin. Because if you don't clean your brushes, girlfriend, and I know this from experience, it can lead to a breakout. So you want to make sure that you're cleaning your brushes on a regular basis, because it helps the longevity, it helps the performance, in addition to preventing a breakout. So make sure that you clean your brushes on a regular basis. Now, before we move on to the actual brush tutorial, I'm curious, do you clean your brushes on a regular basis? Comment below and let us know how often you clean. We would love to hear what you're doing now. And hopefully, if you're doing it less or more than what I just said, you know what I recommend, and we can go from there. So now let's talk about this brush tutorial where I actually show you how to use each different brush type. I'm super excited to show this to you. So now that you know the background on what types of brushes you need, you'll know exactly how to use them. So like I mentioned earlier, the first thing that I do is use the eyebrow brush. As you can see here, when I use the eyebrow brush, I'm brushing my eyebrow hairs up. And when I do that, I immediately go in and start filling in my eyebrows with a brow liner. So the eyebrow brush is essential for me because of my sparse brows. And it may be essential, really essential for most folks, because whether you got full or sparse brows, you're definitely going to want to brush them up to really get the most out of your brows. Secondly, what I do is then apply a concealer. And I use the concealer brush, like I had mentioned earlier, to conceal the darker areas around my lids, around my under eyes, and then making sure I have that nice line on the top of my brow after I fill them in. So you want to make sure that if you are using a concealer, that you have a concealer brush to really put it in the right place. Next, I use eyeshadow first. My eyeshadow brush would be the all over powder eyeshadow brush. I apply the eyeshadow on my lid and I blend it with that eyeshadow brush. Remember, I am doing my eyeshadow first before I apply my foundation. because if I have any kind of type of fallout, I can quickly wipe it off my face more so than have to redo my foundation as a result of it getting on my foundation, maybe even on my concealer, and then I have to go back over it and reblend it to make it look flawless again. So I highly recommend that you do your eyeshadow first before you apply your foundation. So I've applied the eyeshadow on my lid. I'm then going to move over to apply the eyeshadow on my crease. So I'll grab that slanted brush, which is the crease brush, and I use that to apply the eyeshadow in the crease area. I use windshield wiper type of movements to blend in the eyeshadow. I now have two colors on. I then apply the gold color in the inside of my eye using that all powder brush. Now, granted, I could use another brush to apply the eyeshadow in this area, but again, I know how easy I can use this brush that I have right here, just do it kind of double duty with the eyeshadow brush to still blend it in. And as you can see, it still works and works well. And last but definitely not least, I move on to blending the eyeshadow together with my blender brush, where all of the colors look like a mirage. You don't see where one color starts or one color ends. It's definitely a mirage of colors when it comes to bringing it all together. And now I have almost completed my eyes. I'm going to use a gel eyeliner to apply onto my top eyelid. I love the gel liner. It does come with this small brush that's not a part of the brush collection, but when you actually buy the gel liner, you're going to get the little brush that I use for the gel. And then I set the eyeliner with the powder. So I'm using that other end of the brow brush because it's a dual end. One end has the spoolie on it while the other one has an angled brush on it, and I use that to apply the powder to set my gel eyeliner so it can last all day. So now as far as brushes are concerned, I am finished with my eyes and I just move on to apply my mascara. So the next thing that I'm going to apply now that I have my eyes done, I'm going to move to apply a cream to powder foundation, and that is why I'm using this blender brush. This blender brush is ideal for the cream to powder. It really allows me to blend the foundation all over my face. You see I'm doing it in a circular motion, in a downward motion, because I want to lay my facial hairs down when I apply the foundation. So now we have pretty much all of the brushes that I have used. Only one that I am missing at this point is I did include the cheek brush in this particular demo when I was doing this for you. This cheek brush can be used for a highlighter as well as for cheeks. Now, what I use this brush for is after I bake up under my eyes to bake my concealer, I wanted to make sure that it's baked in good so it does not run if for whatever reason my eyes run a little bit throughout the day. So I bake my concealer by putting some loose powder up under my concealer, leaving it on for 2 to 3 minutes and just letting my natural body temperature bake that concealer up under my eyes. And then after that 2 to 3 minute period, I then use the cheek / highlighter brush to blend those products together and really remove the excess foundation is what I'm doing here. So I'm removing the excess powder foundation and just blending it across my face. It gives me a highlighted look because the powdered foundation that I am using is a little bit lighter than what I normally wear. So it gives me a nice sun-kissed look, and it just really sets my makeup for today. And that's the final look of using all of the brushes that I recommended in addition to that cheek brush. So if you're interested in the products that I used in this video today, be sure to check out the description. I have a product list of all the brushes that were used, so you will know exactly what I use and then have a link to actually go and check it out on my website. As always, thanks for watching and bye for now.